We are now not breaking for tea, so I request all of you to kindly be seated. We'll be having 2 more presentations. So please, the tea will be served afterwards. Please keep sitting. Thank you so much. Professor Michel Mosca is the co-founder of the Institute for Quantum Computing at the University of Waterloo, Canada, and a founding member of Waterloo's Perimeter Institute for Theoretical Physics. He is also the co-founder and CEO of quantum-safe cybersecurity company Evolution Q and co-founder of the quantum software and applications company Software Q. He serves as chair of the board of Quantum Industry Canada. He also co-founded the not-for-profit Quantum Safe Canada and the ETSI IQC workshop series in quantum safe cryptography, and is globally recognized for his drive to help academia, industry, and government prepare our cyber systems to be safe in an era with quantum computers. We have him online with us, Professor Michel Mosca.
Well, thank you very much for the opportunity to speak to you all. Sorry I can't be there in person. It looks like an absolutely wonderful event. We'll quickly walk through my remarks so we can get to tea as soon as possible. And there was a great opportunity for greater prosperity and a more resilient society in the quantum era, and I'm excited to see so many of you working so hard to make that happen. So I'm going to walk through some of the elements of this vision. So first of all, right now, cybersecurity is already well recognized to be on the top 10 list of major global risks and to remain on the top 10 list. And I think, depending on the proactive, we're not innocent bystanders. We could try to take it off the top 10 list, or it could really lead to the top of the top 10 list, depending on what we do as a society in the next few years. Why is that? Well, first of all, how does the current economy work? How is, in the last few decades, been completely dependent on digital platforms? Right? And how is that even possible? How can we put our most precious assets and even connected devices now? How can that even work when we're relying on untrusted infrastructure to make those things work, to do our business? Of course, it's cryptography, right? For example, if you want to send a secure message, you somehow get an encryption key, use it to encrypt, and only the intended participants can decrypt it, right? There's a lot of elements there. You need, first of all, the encryption to protect confidentiality, if you want the confidentiality. You need to know who you're talking to. You need to know the information hasn't changed. And if you want to do symmetric key encryption, well, how are you going to establish those keys? So these are three of the most important tools that we now depend on massively, much more than we did in the 1990s, or 20 years ago. Everything pretty much depends on it. The confidentiality, integrity, availability, not just availability of the information, but even of the systems and the connected devices. And on the right, you have these three platforms. You have cloud computing, neuromorphic computing, supercomputing, and so on. These three things that we use today are currently secure against the best known attacks that these amazing computing platforms enable. Yet along comes quantum, and it changes everything. Right? As Bruno and others have hinted and have pointed out, we're talking about exponential power, not for everything, but for certain specific tasks. So how will that affect information security? Right? Well, the way it affects it is it fundamentally crushes the public key methods we're relying on today. So for all the happy quantum we're all excited about, for those possibilities to really make the world a better, more prosperous place, we must first and foremost protect our digital platforms against the attacks they enable. These are some of the key areas where we currently we're exploring quantum advantage, the opportunity to create more value and wealth with better design of materials, optimization, better sensors, and so on. When we look back decades from now, I'm sure most of the wealth creation impact will be innovations we haven't thought of yet. So with something that is so disruptive, that could in 1993 have no impact on cryptography, and in 1994 completely crush the most widely deployed public key methods, you have to be ready. Right? Disruptive technology is great for the ones doing the disruption. It doesn't feel so great for those being disrupted. You wouldn't want a significant fraction of India's economy to be undermined by an advance that you're not a part of. So it's important, of course, to understand the technologies, understand how they impact your company, your sector, the key parts of your economy, come up with a plan to benefit from them, right? And that is not a spectator sport. A lot of people, most people are still spectators. They're sitting back saying, well, tell me how quantum computing will revolutionize my enterprise, and then come talk to me, and then I'll listen. Of course, by then it's too late. It's like publishing companies in the 90s waiting for someone else to tell them how the internet will impact their business. They're not going to share that. That IP will be disrupted, obviously. But before we can benefit from all of that, you have to have a plan to mitigate any implicit threats. As already mentioned, we will break the current tools, so what are we going to do about it? Now, the very concrete doing is kind of almost the easy part. I don't want to say it's easy, but it's the easier part. It's most of the work will be in planning for that migration. Right? Uploading new software at the very, very end is, I'm not saying that's easy, but that's not the hardest part. That's not what's going to take the most time. So we have to do all that planning. And again, what is the impact? When people say, like, what does a quantum attack feel like? It's, you don't get attacked by the vulnerability. You get attacked by a criminal business activity, right, or a state-sponsored activity that exploits the vulnerability. So quantum will exacerbate all of the existing ways that we're being hurt, that hospitals are being shut down, that wealth is just being transferred at this unprecedented scales, right, to criminals. That will just exacerbate this. What will be the criminal activities 5, 10 years from now is very unpredictable. But whatever you can imagine, it'll probably be worse. If you just look at how history has unfolded in the last few years. So these are things we're used to. This gets a visceral response from the board. Vulnerabilities, not so much. They just hear these technical people saying, blah, 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 we gotta fix these things. But this is what enables all those vulnerabilities. And not all vulnerabilities are the same. Some are very localized, random, stochastic, and fixable within a few minutes, a few days, and so on. Others are systemic, take years to fix, right? And could be unrecoverable events for the entire society. And the most systemic vulnerability you can imagine is that the fundamental design, fundamental algorithmics, fundamental building blocks are fundamentally broken. So there's no quick fix. Right? It generally takes decades to fix these foundations. So we definitely want to avoid that. Where do we need to start? I've been asked this. In other words, can I put this off till retirement? Well, the answer is really no nowadays. Sorry, this graphic is disturbed a bit, but it really depends on 3 factors when you're doing your analysis. What is the shelf life of the information you're protecting? How long will it take you to migrate to tools that are resilient to these future attacks? And again, that far into the future, I'll discuss it briefly. At least potentially not that far. And then what is the collapse time Z? Or these quantum-enabled attacks, these vulnerabilities become something that adversaries can use. And for the next Y years, that migration time you're sending your critical IP, right, your trade secrets, your national secrets, using quantum vulnerable tools. Say, you're supposed to have X years of confidentiality, but if X plus Y is greater than Z, right, those attacks become real before they're supposed to. Before that information is now vulnerable. Information that could have been recorded by adversaries is now able to be encrypted and exploited. So this is sort of one of the key elements of quantum risk management. So what does that journey look like? Again, 10 years ago, people said I need to do something. They really wouldn't know where to start. But now you don't have to worry about being first. A lot of people all around the world have been looking at this and doing things, and fortunately they're sharing their best practices with others. So you can hit the ground running much faster. And this is a group convened under the Canadian Forum for Digital Infrastructure Resilience. And we continue to keep adding to these best practices, and we welcome any input, any findings you have. But this is what we've distilled from activities all around the world, including our own trials and pilots and so on. Basically, hopefully we've already started in 2021 with the preparation, the discovery of the kind of tools and systems you use, your processes, and you finally do an assessment analysis, which you really want to be completed before the end of 2024, because that's after that things will really accelerate on the solution side. And you kind of have to know when the start gun goes off, you really need to know where you're going. So it's really important to have that initial analysis and roadmap. It's preliminary, at least a decent layout. You can pivot as things go on, but you kind of have to have a rough idea of where you're going and how you're getting there. By the end of 2024, that's what we recommend. And then you can move into the more, engaging more actively with vendors. Of course, that's stuff that is already part of the preparation phase, where you can really start moving toward the migration with these vendors that we've already kind of been exploring in the preparation phases. Right? And you can start the migrations, and you can think about validation and so on. In some cases, just mitigate things. Right? You buy insurance, you just say, well, we're going to deprecate that system, we're going to self-insure, whatever the case may be. What is the risk? Well, we've asked 40 of the world's top leaders who understand, who are making this happen, who understand the challenges, who are not in the business of selling solutions to quantum safe solutions. We're trying to build quantum computers, use quantum computers. We asked them, what is the likelihood of these quantum attacks on RSA 2048 being real in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years? And we averaged, the report gives the methodology, but we averaged their responses and produced a range depending on, because we asked them, is it 5 to 30%? So depending on whether we took the 5% figure or 30% figure, the averages ranges, even in 5 years, it's averaged out to somewhere between 1 and 6%, which is a bit uneasy for a very, very critical system. You wouldn't go to your board of directors and say, don't worry, there's only a 5% chance that everything will collapse and we're not doing anything about it. Right? And of course, in 10 years, the risk is very, very significant. And I don't even talk much about 15 or 20 years, because then it's far beyond any reasonable risk tolerance. And this report gives much more information if you really want to understand how urgent is this. But really, the X plus Y Z phenomena equation at this point really requires action by any serious organization. And a really important new tool to bring to the mix, because we can't just recreate the status quo, right? We can't just deploy these beautiful post-quantum solutions, which could yet again be broken. And Shor broke them, crushed them in 1994 with quantum attacks. 2 of the NIST shortlisted candidates were broken very badly, right, just a few months ago. So that could happen again. We were just lucky in those cases that quantum computers didn't exist yet in Shor's case, and that these solutions hadn't been standardized and deployed. But we might not be so lucky next time. So it's wonderful to have that this quantum technology also gives us a new opportunity to not rely on the computational assumptions for key establishment. And we've heard from several of the world's thought leaders today during this workshop. And I'm very pleased to see the world is moving away from this almost parochial this mindset of, well, which one is it, which one's better? They're complementary. And I think the mindset now, the language we're hearing more and more is, they're very complementary and they can work very well together. Okay, so you definitely, the ease of deployability of public key algorithms is wonderful. We want to take advantage of the fact that it can very easily reach many endpoints and doesn't require a separate infrastructure. On the other hand, you're relying on this computational assumption that leaves us a very systemic risk. And there's talk of standards today, absolutely important. There's ongoing work to develop standards and certification for these tools, but there's much more work to be done. So it's exciting to see keen interest from our colleagues and friends in India to be a part of this global exercise. And in conclusion, to wrap up, in order to really fundamental recipe for maximizing your ROI on quantum innovation, it really is important to have quantum readiness requirements. Government's role is, it really should be asking in an appropriate way, key elements of the economy, what's the quantum plan here? How do we know we're not going to be disrupted in a very negative way? How can we actually be the positive, the beneficiaries of the disruption, leverage the best practices around the world, and contribute some back? Support the vendor ecosystem you're going to use, you're going to rely on. If you use them or reduce them, start testing solutions in real-world scenarios. And it's not, this requires collaboration with trusted countries and other entities around the world, because we want a strong quantum safe market here. And so tested solutions are ready, so you can be ready to deploy them in large-scale production systems when you need it, and deploy, of course, when the risk equation tells you you should. And this is, again, the ecosystem has grown, it continues to grow. We have to really start engaging with all the parties you're going to have to interoperate with, including third parties, and so on, to identify the challenges in advance so we can tackle them together in time. So thanks so much for your attention. If you'd like to take any questions, well, now if there's time or the opportunity, otherwise, please don't hesitate to reach out to me by email.
Thank you so much, Professor Mosca. We really appreciate your invaluable inputs. Thank you so much. And now I'd like to call for the next keynote address, Shri Pradeep Kumar, Director and Co-founder of Qbit Labs, a startup offering complex products and solutions encompassing the latest and emerging technologies in the area of quantum and emerging protocols. He's a graduate from IIT Kanpur with more than 20 years of industrial exposure in various emerging technologies like computer vision, machine learning, image processing, and predictive analysis. Shri Pradeep Kumarji.
So good afternoon, everyone. So half of the house is already empty, but I think my job should be to make you all guys occupied. I think that will be good enough for the time being. We have seen lots of sessions since morning. So all of these sessions have been highly dominated by deep technical conversations. So I would try to keep a distance from that, so that, because I believe that you guys are already very smart and intelligent, so I don't think that I can, offer anything in terms of teaching. But yes, fortunately, my session is more of building ecosystems for quantum technologies. So this should be more of a discussion rather than sharing information from one side. So I would request all of you, just give me 5-7 minutes. Trust me, I will be keeping very, very brief, because my teacher taught me a long time back, be precise and to the point, otherwise marks will be deducted. And I don't want my marks to be deducted over here. Thank you. I think this is, yeah. So just to start with, Qbit Labs is R&D company opened by IIT alumni, myself and one more colleague of mine who is from IIT Delhi. So more than 2 decades of experience we do have. We had offered lots of complex solutions in defense, telecom, and then recently we did first project in 2018 with Oxford University, wherein we did AWG for quantum technologies, and we were able to simulate qubits. And there we decided that yes, quantum is very passionate and I think we all started believing in quantum technologies. So in 2020, we opened a different organization with the name of Qbit Labs. So that's how Qbit Labs was formed. We have got strong expertise in working on different protocols like 5G, Wi-Fi 6, PCI Gen 6, USB, 4 gig Ethernet. So I mean, I don't think that these topics are much relevant, so I will just give a pass to these. And we have offered couple of uh, offerings in quantum technologies. One is quantum computing, wherein we have supported global technology players, wherein we have supported them on AI ML applications, then quantum computing software applications, and in quantum cryptography, as everybody knows, there are only three buzzwords. One is QKD, QRNG, and PQC. So fortunately, we have also worked in all these three areas. Then coming to the quantum computers, so I mean, as we know that quantum computers is a big thing. So, I mean, it requires, when I say big thing, it requires lots of huge investments. And we have worked as a vendor to these players, global players, wherein we had worked on quantum control systems, QFAC, and quantum simulators. So, yeah. So there are a couple of slides I had made, but unfortunately, there has been lots of technical sessions, and it's very hard for me to now repeat all those things. So just to give you a quick recap, I mean, so quantum technologies, quantum supremacy is expected to benefit in almost in every technologies. So if we say in layman's term, so over the last 2 decades, we all, I mean, at a global level, we all have been trying hard for higher speed and more secure. So if we see, all our phones have been updated in the names of offering better speed and better security, be it Apple or be it any phone. So when we realize that quantum technologies, they will be providing better security and better speed, so you can very well imagine that they would be able to replace almost all the applications and technologies in the coming days. So this is again just to show a value chain where components, technologies, and then quantum hardware, I mean, what are the services which are being offered. So as I think there has been lots of session on cryogenic, micro and nanofabs, and photonics. So I would just pass it on this slide. This is another global landscape where major players and their segmented portfolio has been shown. So due to time constraint, I will just pause for 5 seconds and then move on. There is a specific reason I'm showing these slides. Then this is another landscape we can see. And this is more of a offerings, by offering wise, the whole, the global landscape. So why did I show all these slides? I mean, any help from your side I can see? I mean, any one of you remember the name of Indian companies in the previous global landscape? Unfortunately, no. Either no or very less. So what are the reasons behind it? So, I mean, it is again my individual perception. Please don't generalize. I mean, I have nothing to generalize. It's just my individual perception. So I think the basic reason why the name of Indian companies has been missing in the global landscape, it's mainly that our culture, it has been lack of research environment. If we see in the last 3-4 decades, unfortunately, we have not been able to come up even a single product. Maybe it's in our culture, probably it has to be changed, or maybe it's too much at times because in terms of investment. Lack of hardware systems. I mean, if you realize or if you can recall, I mean, in the whole 2-3 decades, we were unable to make even a small component in the computer industry. I mean, China had been able to do so, but very few countries were able to do so. Limited funds in R&D. This has been the major challenge for countries like India, not only in India but also other developing nations. And low priority in technology. So if we see our history, I think we have not been investing in technology, maybe because of fear, or maybe because of the lack of patience, or maybe people are scared to fail. Because the reason why I'm making such a statement, even the people like who are having millions and billions of dollars, like Reliance, Adani, or any group, unfortunately, none of them has invested in research and technologies. Very rarely they do so, primarily, majorly copying or buying the technology from outside. So the reason is that no one is willing to develop technologies in India. I think this is the primary reason that our talented workforce, they are compelled to work for outside organizations to keep themselves updated. So what is it now? I mean, is it like quantum is very expensive and we have not been able to do so we should just drop down? We should just do nothing? No. I think there are lots of positive things about India and about our country, which can be considered as conducive, and we can definitely make our mark in the market. Like in the IT industry, we had done it previously, earlier also. So what are the positive things about our country at this point of time if we see from a quantum point of view? So favorable large demographic population. So we have the best demographic population, which is like, the engineers and the youngsters who are coming up with we have got a very good repo. And fortunately, we don't have a repo of stealing someone else's technology. Though we were not able to develop much of the technologies, but still we are not labeled as the stealing technology or misusing, so it is good thing for us. That's the reason that we are able to have good friendly relationships with US, UK, and Europe and Japan. So now, what is it which can be done? Yes. So there are some good things also. One is, if we see the sector-wise companies, this is the sector-wise split. And the estimation of global number of jobs creations in the coming years, it will go up to somewhere around 580,000. So this is where we can contribute, not only contribute, but we can also become leader. So, as an old saying, we can always ride on our strengths rather than looking on our weaknesses. Just the last slide. Please bear with me. So what is the way forward? So these are just some of the points which I would like to mention here. I think we all need to think. It's not like, I can say something which has to be, considered as correct. Skilled manpower, this is one area where we can focus heavily, and we can emerge, and we can make our mark across the globe. Proven record in IT and semiconductor, we had done it earlier, so this is not something which is, impossible task for us considering our workforce. So prepare ourselves with quantum engineering workforce, so which requires not only from an education or academia point of view, but also to have an infrastructure ecosystem which provides the new workforce to have exposure in terms of real-time exposure or working on the quantum computers. The second is political thrust and support. So, just to share my opinion, since morning I have heard lots of presentations. I mean, in this room, when you hear so many presentation, you feel that yes, lots of quantum thing is happening in India. But when you go and read outside a newspaper or something, you don't find India. I mean, yes, there are some people, some labs where lots of quantum work is shown, but are we really significant if we see the global landscape? Not even a single company can find a place in the global landscape. Is it so tough? This is something which we have to think. Quantum technologies is something which requires huge investment. That's where I think we do request our political leaders. So it's not important to have the quantum mission in paper, but it's equally important to have quantum mission movement. So this has to move on. I mean, definitely I heard that some revision is to be made, but yes, I mean, it has to be put up on the priority. Quantum, if we have to do something, definitely we need to have priority investment in quantum. Yes, it requires 100 crores minimum to start with something. But so what? If we have to do something in technology, if we are looking forward for the future of our new generation, yes, we have to spend. We have to invest at this point of time, before it's too late. Other thing is quantum hardware. Yes, we have to, I think we should definitely think about making our own quantum hardware. Yes, it will require investment. It will require investment in terms of money, in terms of time. But yes, I mean, patience is the key to success. Today we start, definitely we will have something in our hand, which is completely indigenized, completely Indian. This is what we need. We can definitely have some collaborations because we do have a good rapport and relationship with our developed nations. We can have some quantum computer, probably that can give us exposure, but in parallel, we do have to make and develop a quantum, our own computer. It can be less qubit based. I mean, I heard that Google is coming up with 72, or some Microsoft is also, or some other Rigetti or D-Wave. These all people are coming up with lots of qubits. But yes, we can have less qubits, but at least it will be our own. I mean, I think it's the high time we need to think. Yes, we need something of our own. Before it's too late, then there's no point of being a crying baby and then just crib in. It's right time, we have to invest, we have to have a will to become something in quantum. The other part is we can always provide a funding and research environment. It has been lacking since long. In defense, we have seen lots of movement happening. There are lots of schemes which are coming up, like TDFS, Technology Development Fund Scheme, IDEX, which are promoting startups for developing the technologies. In the same way, we can have some specialized groups for quantum, wherein we can invite startups. But again, we have to think properly that quantum startups, they would require lots of money. It cannot happen something in 1 or 2 crore. It will definitely require minimum of 20-50 crores. That's it from my side. I apologize if I said anything wrong. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kumar. I request Dr. Brajesh Mishra to kindly present memento to Shri Pradeep Kumar. Thank you so much, and we'll now have a short tea break of 10 minutes. After that, we resume the conclave with the panel discussion, which will be the concluding session. Thank you.